Hello and welcome to the In Focus series section of Drishti IAS. I am Aisha Singh and in today's video we will be discussing about the Criminal Procedure Identification Act. Identification Act. So identification is the major word here. So first of all, let us look at the timeline. First we'll be looking at what is Criminal Procedure Identification Act and what are its different provisions and why is it in news. Then why is this legislation important or required? What is the role of NCRB, that is National Crime Records Bureau? What are the ground status with regard to the CRPI? Challenges related to it, prelims MCQ. Topic is of relevance from General Studies paper 2, that is Government Policies, and also from General Studies paper 3, that is Science and Technology. So let's begin. And the news talks about why will police stations install DNA systems? Why? Why is the major word, and this why is going to set everything into line. So what is happening as of now is that in the year 2022, the Criminal Procedure Identification Act was passed by the Parliament. But this act has not been implemented to its full limit and NCRB is still setting the guidelines for this act. Now, why is this act so complex in nature that till now the guidelines have not been set completely, even though it was passed by the Parliament in the year 2022? So this act, that is the Criminal Procedure Identification Act, it enables the police and central investigation agencies. Now listen to the terms very carefully. This gives power to the police and central investigating agencies to collect, store and analyze physical and biological samples. They can collect the physical and biological sample of a person, then they need to be stored, and after getting stored they need to be analyzed. That is physical and biological samples including the retina and iris scans of arrested persons. So the person who are arrested by the police, their biological and physical attributes or measurements can be taken and can be collected, stored and analyzed. And that too, before this the fingerprints, the footprints and all these things were allowed, but now what is becoming complex is getting the retina and iris scans of the arrested people, that is the physical and the biological characters of a person. And the act is yet to be implemented fully, so it has not been implemented fully till now, and the nodal agency responsible for this act is NCRB, that is National Crime Records Bureau. And NCRB works under which ministry? Guess. NCRB works under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So NCRB has said that these measures will be rolled out in around 13,000 locations across the country. The process and the infrastructure to collect, to store and to analyze the physical as well as the biological samples of a person. Now, why was this legislation required, that the collection, storage and the analysis of the physical and biological characteristics or measurement of a person was required? Why is it so that going to this stage was important for the country? Then CRPI, that is the Criminal Procedure Identification Act, it repealed the British era Identification of Prisoners Act 1920. So the act which it repealed was Identification of Prisoners Act, and this act was an British era act. And the scope was limited to collecting and recording finger impressions, foot impressions and photographs. So the Identification of Prisoners Act of 1920, which was the British Time Act, it did not give much strength and much diversity to the police stations and also to the police and central investigating agencies. So the ground level and the diversification was needed, and it was needed that more complex and more technical procedures should be included in this. So to include the upgraded and the presently relevant procedures, the Identification of Prisoners Act was repealed and CRPI was enacted. And in the CRPI, what was included was the physical and biological characters of a person, like the iris scanning can be done, retina scanning can be done. So all these things were not present in the earlier Identification of Prisoners Act 1920. And the new act made provision for the use of modern techniques to capture and record appropriate body measurements. So important word here is modern, upgraded, relevant. So these technologies was needed because the Identification of Prisoners Act, what it was getting, and the procedure and the provisions were very old, and it did not include the today's relevant procedures. Now, what is the role of NCRB? What NCRB did in this process? So, what NCRB, being the nodal agency, will be responsible for the storage, process, share, disseminate, and destroy records of measurement. So, whatever measurement, physical or biological measurement of a person, of a arrested person will be taken, it will be the responsibility of the NCRB to store the data, then to process the data and share the data with relevant people and the relevant organization or the individuals, and then disseminate the data to whoever it was required, and then in the end they were also responsible for destroying the data so that any misuse of the data should not be done. Then impressions taken at any police station will be stored in a common database maintained by the NCRB. So as NCRB is the nodal agency, it will be responsible for the maintenance of the whole data. Now the important word here is common data, common database. It means that the police personnel or the authorized police stations or the authorized police personnel, wherever they are in the country or all across the country, they can access that common database and can take out the information. NCRB will prescribe the specifications of the equipments or devices to be used for taking measurements in digital and physical format, because till now the technicians in the police department or the central investigating agencies or the personnel who was apt or who was performing the duties earlier, they also need to upgrade their skills so that they can take the measurement of a physical or a biological feature of a person. Then the records are to be stored for 75 years. So you can say that the lifespan of the record would be 75 years. Then what is the ground status? That what is presently going on with regard to the CRPI. So the police across states have been trained to record finger impression through the National Automated Fingerprint Identification System, that is NAFIS. So through NAFIS, the police personnel, they are trained to take the fingerprints or the footprints. Then the iris scanners and devices would enable capturing of DNA and facial recognition systems are yet to be provided. So even though the Act CRPI has been passed in the year 2022, but still the infrastructure for taking the physical and the biological measurement of a person has not been provided to people, because till the time the physical infrastructure, the devices, the technicians, the skill development or the skill upgradation of the people will not be done, then till that time police personnel will not be well equipped enough to take the physical or the biological impression of the or the measurement of a person. Then NAFIS, which also works under the NCRB, it is a separate project which was launched in the year 2022. So NAFIS was a different project, comes under NCRB, and NCRB comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. So under NAFIS, it assigns a unique 10-digit national fingerprint number to all suspects arrested by the police. And through this unique number, a person who is arrested with the police can be identified very easily. So the 10-digit number will differentiate a individual from other individuals, and going to the data of the person will also be very easy because everything would be digital and computerized. Now, what can be the challenges in the CRPI? What are the challenges because of which the implementation of the act is not taking place at a faster pace? Now, few of the challenges can be, first of all, violation of right to privacy. Right to privacy can be because the DNA is involved, facial recognition is involved, sensitive information of a person is involved. So if that right to privacy and if that information gets shared and gets misused, then that can be a violation of right to privacy, and right to privacy is a fundamental right after all. Then protection of data. Now this point always keeps on getting raised, that is India as a country well equipped so that the protection of data takes place? Now that we hear so much in news that the cyber security is one of the topics which always comes up, and the spyware, malware, they are happening at such a high pace. So is the data protection a big issue or not? So as of now it is. Then the type of DNA sample that could be collected by the police have not been defined yet. So the specifications have not been defined till now to the police. Handling DNA sample require proper training. So till now the people who were only restricted to fingerprints and footprints can, without proper training, without proper upgradation of skills, can those people be well equipped enough to take the DNA sample of a person? Because taking a DNA sample and then knowing about the information with regard to the DNA sample is a very skilled job. Connectivity is a huge problem. Now that there will be a common database, all the police personnel which are present in the metro cities, or you can say the tier 1 or the tier 2 cities, they will be able to get access to the database easily. But what about the police personnel or the police stations which are not present in tier 1, tier 2 or tier 3 cities? They are present, you can say, somewhere in a very rural areas where the connectivity can be a big issue also. So these are few of the challenges that needs to be kept in mind. And in the end, a prelims MCQ, and you people need to tell me the answer in the comment section. The National Crime Records Bureau, that is NCRB, it comes under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Home Affairs. Easy one, I've discussed this in the video itself many a time. So give me the answer in the comment section, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Till we meet next time, keep reading and keep writing.